103. I had been given a CT scan, MRI, and spinal tap, and the doctors had no idea what was wrong with me. I was in and out of conscious, and they prepared my family for the worst. An infectious disease specialist was called in to look over my test results. She discovered I had pneumonia, which explained everything. I was taken out of ICU where I was, and I was placed in a regular hospital room. And that's where I was. I thought we were learning out together that we were both HIV positive. And I'm also thinking you're positive, I'm positive, we're gonna have a positive life together. But he let me know that we were done, because while I was in the hospital, I told people, and those people told people.
All right, what's up with it, y'all? So look, man, I'm back again with another video right now. Listen, it's a situation that's going viral on TikTok where a woman is speaking about how she contracted HIV, and you know, it's a couple of different videos about the situation that she did, and I tried to put them together in order as best as I could. I'll have her information somewhere in this video too as well. But from one of the clips that I did see, she's very level-headed and calm. It's like she already coped with what she had going on, because it says right here that she had it for over 19 years. But we really don't know what's going on until we get up into the video. So let's go ahead and get into it and see what's going on with this whole situation. I do want to tell everybody out there, man, make sure that you know your status. You know what I'm saying? And always wear you some protection. And it's good to know your status, because people be having shit and then they'll try to act like you gave it to them too. So you just be aware, because to be aware is to be alive. You feel me? But yeah, if you're a supporter of the channel, make sure you're hitting that like button, leaving a comment here and there so I can stay engaged with the channel. And if you ain't subscribed, make sure you subscribe if you want to, if you're rocking with me. I'm just simply saying that for those who be saying they don't see the video. Sometimes y'all don't even be subscribed, so make sure you're doing that. Other than that, man, let's go ahead and jump into this. And I want to say I appreciate y'all for being here. If you're rocking with me, I want to see some peace, some positivity, and some healing energy. If you're going through something, I just simply want to just show y'all some love in every way possible. You feel me? So yeah, if you're rocking with me, I'm rocking with you. Other than that, I done said this once, I'm going to say it one more time. Let's go ahead and get into it to see what's up. Let's go.
Hello, positive people. It's story time about how I contracted HIV at 19 years old. I've told this story many of times, many different ways, all over the world. But not like this, because the story has changed. I was in ICU with a fever of 103.
Right.
I had been given a CT scan, MRI, and spinal tap, and the doctors had no idea what was wrong with me. I was in and out of conscious, and they prepared my family for the worst. An infectious disease specialist was called in to look over my test results. She discovered I had pneumonia, which explained everything. I was taken out of ICU where I was, and I was placed in a regular hospital room. And that's where I was on the date of July 17th, 2003. I remember laying in the bed, and it was a knock at the door. It was the doctor. I told him he could come in. And he sat down right in front of me, and he said, "Miss Brown, you have pneumonia." And I was like, "Yes, I'm aware. They told me." And he said, "I'm sorry, but I have something more serious to tell you." I looked at him, I grabbed my heart, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant." And he said, "No, you're not pregnant. You're HIV positive." And when he said that, I just looked at him. I had definitely heard about HIV, but my education about HIV was Tom Hanks in Philadelphia, or a helpless kid in Africa that I seen in the media or in my health books. I immediately thought I was going to die. I probably thought I had 10 minutes left of life at that moment. He informed me not to panic, not to worry, and that he was going to have the infectious disease specialist come in and talk to me later that evening. She did. I seen her about 5 hours later. She came with pamphlets, lots of information, and then we also discussed transmission. and we discovered that I had got it from unprotected sex. I knew immediately where I had got it from because the doctors told me that it had only been living in my body for 3 weeks at the time of my diagnosis. Besides, I was only dealing with one person. She talked to me about disclosure and me wanting to call and tell him that I was positive. I was definitely fearful because in the hours leading up to her coming with the information, I did call family and friends and I let them know that I was HIV positive. And in that time span, I had already experienced stigma, discrimination, isolation, and I was scared to call him, even though I knew I had got it from him. But I decided to give him a call, but I decided to butter up the conversation a little bit. I remember asking about baseball and his day. And
Yeah.
I waited for him to ask me how was things going at the hospital. At this time, I had been there for over a week, and he hadn't come to see me not once.
He
did
knew.
let me know that he was scared of hospitals and it wasn't his thing.
Hell no, he
So
knew.
I understood, but we did keep in contact. So in our conversation, after he asked me how I was doing, I told him that the doctors let me know that I was HIV positive, and he got quiet. And then he said, "I'm sorry."
Mm.
And then he said, "I'm going to go take the test."
Hey, weird fucker.
Before I could be released from the hospital, his test results had came back, and it determined that he was HIV positive, and he let me know that. And when he told me that, I thought we were learning out together that we were both HIV positive. And I'm also thinking, you're positive, I'm positive, we're going to have a positive life together. But he let me know that we were done, because while I was in the hospital, I told people, and those people told people. And being from Nashville, Tennessee, especially the Black community, which can be considered relatively small, my word has spread pretty quick. And I do have a unique name thanks to my parents of Marvelin. And so even with my name, if you didn't know my face, you knew my name and you knew that I was positive. And since I had experienced stigma and discrimination to an extent, because it was definitely going to get worse, I gave him grace. I was never trying to protect him or keep his information away from the public. I just knew what I was experiencing. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I know now that he knew in that moment that he was HIV positive.
Funky fucker.
He knew he was HIV positive before he ever slept with me. But he intentionally gave me HIV. Back then, because I did not know in that time that he had purposely given it to me. I knew he knew, and he didn't want to have anything to do with me. But he still kept lines of communication open. And we would just, check in about HIV stuff or things like that. And when he got too distant, I would react accordingly. I tried to take it to local police, but I was not believed or taken seriously. And I was not by the Nashville community either, because I was considered a hoe, a slut, and people were saying I didn't get it from him, and I was sleeping around, I was doing this, all these different lies. But I definitely knew where I had got it from. But I was just a 19-year-old girl, newly diagnosed with HIV, dealing with stigma, discrimination. The person who gave it to me wanted nothing to do with me, and I was being shunned out by my community. Instead of giving up, which is what I wanted to do, which would have honestly been a lot easier, I decided to go public with my story, and I began sharing my story very far and wide. I never disclosed his name. I just called him Prince Charming. I figured by telling my story that it would have a bigger impact than his name, because he was only one person who was positive. But looking at the statistics and the numbers, I figured people would be careful with whomever they were with, and my story could help with that. Now, I did write an autobiography that came out in 2008 where I gave some of his characteristics, his hairstyle, even his zodiac sign, which is the Leo. I did put enough out there. My story never changed, but his sure did. I would receive emails from women throughout the years who heard that this was the guy and would ask me and things like that. I would still never tell them, but try to help them with information and guidance about HIV and things like that, because I still wanted to be protective of his status. Because I felt like he wasn't telling people he was positive, even though he was positive, because he didn't want to go through what I was going through, which was being crucified for doing the same thing that mostly everyone does, which is have sex. So fast forward to late 2021, I received an email from a woman who mentioned him and said that he infected her. But this email was different from the countless of other emails I got, because
Damn, cuz out there boning.
she was pressing charges and they were sticking. Granted, she was white. They stuck. And he was finally being brought to justice.
Oh shit. Oh, look at cuz.
In that moment, he was no longer Prince Charming, the guy who found out he was HIV positive when I was HIV positive. The guy that I so-called protected because I didn't want him to face the shame and the stigma that I was facing, even though he didn't protect me. He was Danny Perry, the guy who intentionally gave me HIV. Stay tuned to more parts when he sees his day in court and me, the surprise witness. Stay tuned to more parts where I answer all your questions, concerns, comments via video.
Okay, so hold up. What the hell? Okay, so look, basically it's another video that's gonna come up, but it's very, very short. I'm gonna go to her page and see if I can put the other parts. I thought I had shit more parts, but it's only 2. So yeah, give me one more second and I'll be right back and I'll try to put it all together. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Alright y'all, so look, I'm back. I actually found her TikTok. I seen bits and clips from other places in the beginning, but I actually found her page. Like I was saying I was gonna do in the beginning of the video, but I'm here now. And it looks like she has a book out and she has multiple videos. She's also showing 42 pills that she take every week. It's a lot of shit going on. So I'm gonna add these to her and then we're gonna get right back into it. So hold on, I'll be right back. Alright y'all, so look, I'm back. Now they all added, we're finna get into this and see what's going on with the other parts. Let's go.
And always stay positive. Hello, positive people. Before I get into part 2, I did want to address some of the questions and comments that I've been seeing. Just to clarify a few things, I do not live my life with regrets or live my life in fear. I was diagnosed with HIV at 19 years old from a former boyfriend who I loved and who I trusted. From the beginning of my diagnosis, I've always taken responsibility for the actions that I played in having unprotected sex. I was not forced. I was not raped. I was a willing and ready participant. But that does not change the fact that my life and my health was played with on purpose, and I was intentionally given HIV from Danny Perry with the intent to harm me. With that being said, I appreciate all the feedback and all the comments, all the sharing, all the liking, all the different things. But within that being said, please don't forget, I did the same thing your mother did. Have a positive day, my positive people. Hello, positive people. It's time for part 2 of the story time. But before I get into part 2, I did want to make a correction from part 1. I stated that the woman contacted me in late 2021. The year was actually 2019. So she contacted me, she had pressed the charges, and the district attorney had picked them up. He was arrested, and there was a mugshot. He was released on bond, but before there was ever a trial, Danny Perry pled guilty. Next up was the sentencing hearing. When I was first asked if I wanted to be a surprise witness for the sentencing hearing, I was hesitant. I knew the mental anguish that it could have on a person, and I protect my peace and my energy at all times. But I also thought about the young 19-year-old girl I was in 2003 that no one believed, that no one heard, that was labeled a hoe, a slut, a liar. And I did it for her. Although I was out of the statute of limitations and it was not typically justice for me, I had to do it. I called on my best friend Shay for support, and she went with me the day of the sentencing hearing. At the courthouse, that was the first time I had seen Jane Doe face to face. We had had phone conversations for about a year prior at that time, and she told me her story of meeting Danny and them starting a relationship. He did not disclose his HIV status, and they had sex numerous times over a long period of time. She found out she was HIV positive, and that's where our stories became very similar. The same thing he had done to me 15 years prior, he had done to her. He acted like he didn't know he had the virus, and they were finding out together. She later heard rumors, and she did some investigation, and she found me, and that's when she contacted me. When I seen her at court that day, although our stories were similar, we looked nothing alike, and we were not even in the same age demographic. Because I was a surprise witness, I stayed in the back as the sentencing was going on. Then it was my time. I remember standing in front of the 2 courtroom doors, and I just heard the end part of witness Marvelyn Brown. The doors opened, and I walked in like I was on the Victoria's Secret runway show. Danny seen me, and he put his head down. I sat down on the stand with confidence and courage. I never gave Danny any power over me, and I most certainly wasn't going to do it in that moment. I did have a moment of fear because his lawyer tried to get me thrown out before I ever muttered a word. But Judge Dozier allowed me to share my story. My book was also given to him while I was on the stand.
Book I was talking about.
Due to the similarities, he could see that I was not lying. After my testimony, I went and I sat down next to Jane Doe. We waited to hear his fate. The judge gave him the max of 3 years.
3 years?
Me and Jane Doe, we hugged, we cried, and I watched Danny stand up, be put in handcuffs, and taken directly to the back. Danny was so sure that he wasn't going to be convicted of anything that he drove to court that day.
Oh, he was showing out, wasn't he?
He didn't get to go in that car. He was going to jail. Over the next 3 years, I did not hear from Jane Doe much at all. One time I tried to contact her because a friend of mine sent me the jail's Facebook post of where they posted Danny getting a barber's license or something like that, and I wanted to share it with her. She asked me not to share anything about Danny with her anymore, and that she had moved on with her life, and that I should too.
I guess I can understand that. But shit, you helped her
I
though.
realized when we left that courtroom, she got to go back and be anonymous. I got back and I received hate from family and friends of Danny. Even some of his kids' mothers reached out to me saying I did not consider his children. I also had some people living with the virus who had a problem with me speaking out against someone who was positive.
That's crazy. She sounds like she reading the book, don't it?
Part of Danny's
She
sentencing
articulate.
was that he had to be registered as a sex offender for the rest of his life. Upon being released from jail, the state of Tennessee passed a law that had to do with HIV convictions and being registered as a sex offender, and he fell under this law and he no longer had to register as a sex offender. It was around this time that
This
I was
shit crazy.
contacted from Jane Doe again. She was furious about this, and she asked me would I be a part of trying to get this title put back on him.
Hell no.
I politely declined.
Hell yeah, real talk. It's a lot of shit going on. So he went to jail. Well, he went to court. He was feeling himself. She popped out as a surprise witness. He ended up getting 3 years. And then, shit, after that, she asked her for some help. She told her no when she was already there for her. But I can't understand it because you don't want to relive certain shit. But shit, that's something to kind of be, you know what I'm saying, forever indebted for. But, you know what I'm saying, with them passing that law to where he has nothing tied to him after getting out of jail for that, it's crazy, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because you done gave somebody something that they're going to have for the rest of their life, and you only got to deal with whatever the consequences are for 3 years, you know what I'm saying? But all of this is from her point of view. I don't want to put certain jackets on a person without actually knowing for sure, but I don't feel like she's lying. But yeah, old girl Jane Doe got shit. I'm about to start talking crazy. She got it twisted out here, real talk. I won't do nothing for her if you can't do nothing for me. Let's get back into it though.
Lightly declined. Anyways, stay tuned for part 3, where I talk about the early stages of my diagnosis, the stigma and discrimination that I faced from family and friends, and how I was shunned out of Nashville, Tennessee, and moved to New York City. Stay positive, my positive people. Hello, positive people. It's time for part 3 of the story time. But I want to take it back a little bit to me in the hospital room after the doctor left. I immediately picked up my Nokia phone and I called 5 people. The first person I called was my best friend at the time, and I just came straight out and told her. I said, girl, the doctor told me that I'm HIV positive. She got silent for a second and she said, oh my God, you know I'm at work. As soon as I get off work, I'm going to come and see you. And she did. I didn't really get what I was looking for from calling her, and I was just in fear, scared from people's reactions and feeling the energies and the vibe that I called my next friend. She was pregnant with my godchild. Her tone changed immediately after I told her I was positive. She also let me know that she didn't want to have anything to do with me, and she didn't want me to have anything to do with her child now that I was HIV positive.
What the hell?
After that, I took a little break from calling people, and I started trying to process things. The third person I called was my older sister, Tab. She's a hairdresser in Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm from. I had only been HIV positive for about 15, 20 minutes when I called her. And I got ready to tell her I was HIV positive, and she told me that she had already knew.
What the
Being a
hell?
hairdresser, I guess, the gossip and things that go on in the shop. I had only told 2 people. I had only been positive for 20 minutes. And before you know it, my sister knew. My sister let me know that our mom didn't know, and she felt it was best coming out my mouth to tell her.
Hmm.
So I hung up with my sister and I called my aunt. I definitely had a closer relationship with my aunt. And my aunt was the first one to kind of tell me to just take a deep breath. She was educated somewhat about HIV and AIDS and gave me a little bit of information. So I was a bit relieved. So then I called my mom. When I got to my mom, she told me, do not tell anyone anything. And if they want to know what's wrong with you, you tell them that you had cancer. For whatever reason, I guess my mom thought I called her first, but I did not. Back then, I didn't really know why she wanted me to tell people I had cancer, but now I know she was trying to protect me from the stigma and discrimination. I had already told 5 people, and before I knew it, my word had spread. I thank God I didn't find out during the area of social media, because it probably would have been all over it. It probably would have made things a lot more harder. I was actually a college student who was in between semesters of college. And after leaving the hospital, I had made the decision that I did not want to go back to college. The infectious disease specialist in the hospital wound up becoming my primary care doctor, and I had to visit her immediately upon being released from the hospital. At the end of the visit, she gave me a sheet and it had my prescription for my medication on it that I was going to have to take for the rest of my life. I told her, this is a lot, but I can do this. And I let her know that I wasn't going to go back to school. She looked at me and she said, you have to go back to school. And I said, why? I kind of explained to her everything that was going on. And she told me she understands. But as a college student, I was under my mother's health insurance. And if I dropped out of college, I was going to lose my health insurance. She explained to me that if I lost my health insurance, I wouldn't be able to pay for my doctor visits for her, and I wouldn't be able to pay for my medication. I mean, I was young. I had bought a bottle of Tylenol before, and I'm thinking, all right, I don't want to go back to school. And she said, no, I don't think you understand. These medications that I'm giving you cost about $3,600 a month.
Damn.
3,600. So I went back to school.
Yeah,
I
real
went to the
talk.
same college I had went to the semester before, but things were a lot different this time. People did not want to do class projects with me. People did not want to eat with me during lunch. I spent a lot of time by myself. I found a close friend there. His name was James. He saved me during those times. And also, the only girl that would public talk to me in the school was known to have herpes. We were like the little positive buddies. But after a while, it all became too much. So I dropped out of school. I did enough to keep my mom's health insurance, but I also found a organization called Nashville Cares. And they were able to help me, with my medication and things like that. Life had gotten so hard, so tough, that I just felt more comfortable living in my car. My family was not educated about HIV, but they never treated me badly, but treated me differently from not knowing I was HIV positive. If I would be sick, you would have thought I was going to die. And it made me feel really, really uncomfortable. So I began living in my car. I slept in a Walmart parking lot and I was homeless. So here I was, 19 years old, told I was HIV positive. I was given this expensive medication that I did not know how I was going to afford for the rest of my life. I was facing stigma, discrimination. The only place I thought that I could turn was the church. Being from Nashville, Tennessee, I grew up in the Bible Belt. So I went to church every Sunday and Wednesday from the time that I could remember. So I went to church and I remember sitting there and this older woman, she turned to me and she said, that's what you get for fornicating. So at that time, I stopped going to church. I still believed in God and I still was praying to him heavily. Every single day, I thought about death and I wanted to. I thought about But I had a best friend in high school that wound up killing herself. And I seen the effects this had on people after her death. And I also know the guilt I felt being a friend to her, that I couldn't do anything to stop it. So ultimately, I do know that her saved me from committing suicide. But I had HIV and I knew eventually I was going to die. So I just waited. I was living to die. And one day I almost did. I almost died in a car accident. And it was that day that I realized that, dang, you almost died. And it had absolutely nothing to do with being HIV positive. It was in that moment that I said, all right, you got this, and you're going to live with this, and you're going to do this. I moved outside of Nashville and I started going by my middle name of Cherie. Cherie is a lot less unique than Marvelyn. I felt like every time somebody heard the word Marvelyn, they would automatically associate me with being HIV positive. I wound up getting a serving job and I got my own place in my own car. Also, with the help of Nashville Cares, the AIDS service organization in Nashville, Tennessee. And I was living my life. And then I would start to hear chatter that I was losing weight or that I was dying. And I was actually thriving, finding out who I was outside of HIV, trying to figure out what was next. I would say beautiful, but I always been beautiful. So it wasn't like I was, you know, growing up, but, you know, I was becoming a young woman. So I decided I was going to put my story in the Sunday paper for the Tennessean. It wound up coming out on the cover. I would always decline this because I was scared, I was nervous. At the time, I didn't realize it would go all over the state of Tennessee, and I didn't realize how many people like actually read the newspaper. But I did it. I was still working as a server, and the stigma came immediately. They were calling the restaurant, demanding that I not work there. The apartment I was living in, someone sprayed fire on my door. I wound up leaving the serving job, and I actually took on a full-time position in Nashville Cares in HIV prevention and HIV testing. From the newspaper article, I wound up receiving offers and going on the Tyra Banks show, and then there was BT's 106 in Park. There was the Oprah show. There was America's Next Top Model. I wound up doing a commercial directed by Joe Schumacher that turned into me receiving an Emmy Award. Some of these things are out of order, but due to Nashville, like I had support, but I didn't have security. And Nashville still felt like everywhere I went, I was the girl with HIV. So I decided to move from Nashville. And first, I went to Washington, D.C. for about 3 months. And then I went on up the road to New York City. And New York City has been my home since 2006. Not only is it a blue state, which I love, but it's also 9 million people in this city, and I can blend in. I've never been considered the girl with HIV. Only Marv and MB here. Stay tuned for part 4. Like, oh my God, this has turned into a series or something. But I will discuss life being in the public eye with HIV, dating, kids, marriage, and my HIV activism. Always stay positive, my positive people. Dear Danny Perry, you and I share a story that I never asked for, but one that I've lived through fully. You may never admit what you did to me. You may never apologize, and that's fine, because I don't need your truth to validate mine. I know what happened. And the truth, it lives with me every single day, in my body, in my story, and in my strength. You tried to take something from me, my health, my power, my peace. But what you didn't know is that I would turn pain into purpose. You handed me a virus, but I made it a voice. You gave me silence, and I built a platform. You left me with scars, and I made them shimmer. So no, I don't need your apology. I've already forgiven you. Not for you, but for me. Because forgiveness freed me to love myself again, to live boldly, to help hundreds and thousands of people across 46 states in 21 countries. That's my power. That's my healing. So, Danny boy, I wish you well in hell. No, I kid. I kid. I wish you peace because chaos is already yours. Because harm is a cycle that stops here. And I wish you truth because I've been walking in mine for 22 years. Undetectable, unbreakable, and unapologetically me. This isn't about revenge. This is about release. And this right here is what survival looks like. Sincerely, marveling. All right, y'all, I'm going to address this. Because not only was the year 2003 and this was unrealistic, it's honestly unrealistic now. Because it's not as simple as go get tested with someone before you all sleep. Because you can go and get an HIV test with your partner right now. That test does not include what you did last night, the week before, all within a certain window period. So for this to be accurate, what needs to happen is you go with your partner, you get tested, you wait 3 to 6 months, you get tested again. But in those 3 to 6 months, both of you all have to abstain from having any type of intercourse. Go get the test and wait on those results. So it's not as just as simple as just getting one test. You need to protect yourself. So I did reply to this question and I said no. And then somebody replied, exactly. Let's be clear. Whether I was married or not, I still contracted HIV from someone who I loved and who I trusted, who knowingly infected me with the virus. HIV does not care that you have a ring on your left finger or that you have a marriage license. Congratulations, by the way. My message is bigger than that. HIV is a preventable disease, yet people are still contracting it every day. People are still living with it, and people are also still dying. This is more about public opinion and shame, because I guess if I was married, you would show sympathy and compassion, which I don't need, by the way. But truth be told, whether I was married or not, I still contracted a preventable disease. My message is about education and prevention. Hello, positive people. It is that time of the week that I must package my weekly medication. Just to give you a rundown of what I take, I do take 2 CMOS pills daily. I'm required for my HIV virus to take 1 medication daily. I do take 1 multivitamin that is prescribed. I take 1 pill because I had my thyroids removed in early 2025. And I do take 1 baby aspirin per day because I suffered an eye stroke in 2024. Out of all my medications, this would be the most strictest one because it must be taken with water, no other liquids, and on an empty stomach. So I take this one every morning, and these 4 I take in the evening. Now, let's get to packing.
That's a
Right,
lot
y'all,
of
let's
shit.
get to packing.
But all of them not for HIV.
It's so much easier for me to open these up. One by one, and then just place the pills in there one by one. I used to deal with a pharmacy that would package these medications for me, but I came so complacent. And I also have medications that I take that are not prescribed, and this is just easier for me.
because I was walking around with the packages and then vitamins. So, because I was walking around with the packages and then the vitamins. So, I definitely wanted to find a solution, and this is the one that worked for me. You gotta put them over there. The night side, it gotta go where it belongs. Come on now. Next bottle, I'm going 7 for 7. No hiccups. See if I can do it. Last one for the championship. Of course, we winning every time. Come on now. Now for the loner. That wasn't for the championship, but I need to find that pill. All right, let's get them in their respectable compartments here. You don't belong over here. And where did that other pill go? In that grass? Found it. Nope, never mind. That is not it. Oh no. And now I'm prepared for the week. Have a positive day. Positive people.
Well, that's the end of that video, man. I just want to say, man, know your status, watch who you dealing with, and I hope that she does get the justice that she deserves. There's no way in the hell somebody should be out here free, and they done did something like this to you knowingly. You know what I'm saying? If y'all found out together, that's a different thing. But to actually know what you're doing to someone is very, very sick, and it's really, really sad, bro. Real talk. But yeah, man, know your status, know who you're dealing with, and I always remember that it could be you if you ain't out here doing what you're supposed to do. So yeah, strap up and kind of take your time with people, and shit, go get tested with them too. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you feel like doing. But hey, look, I want to know y'all thoughts and opinions on everything. And yeah, man, I simply just want to say, it wasn't even much for me to say. She articulated herself so well, and I just wanted to hear what she had to say. But yeah, y'all go get her book. Her information was posted. I'm sure I posted it somewhere at the end of the video. I think her name is Positive Wild Positive on TikTok. So y'all go over there and holler at her and send her some love and buy that book. Check it out. But look, let me know your thoughts and opinions. We're gonna talk about everything in the comment section. And yeah, man, stay safe. Know your status. All right.